Midwest Emmy Chapter's 2023 Gold and Silver Circle Honoree Dinner. Tonight's host is from KTIV in Sioux City, Iowa, 2018 Silver Circle inductee, Larry Wentz.
Welcome to the Upper Midwest Emmy Night. My peeps are right here from KTIV. Thank you very much. Standing before you tonight, it's really an immense privilege. I can personally attest to the exhilaration that the induction ceremony has, getting inducted into the Honor Society. While the delightful chaos of dinner does unfold around us tonight, please work your magic, put those cell phones and ringtones on silent. You can still take photos. Let's create an atmosphere that is so polished that even the silverware will give us an approving nod tonight. We begin this evening's festivities bestowing the prestigious honors upon 4 distinguished individuals. We welcome them into the Upper Midwest Emmy Circle of Honor Society. The Gold Circle, it symbolizes an astounding half-century of dedication. The Silver Circle celebrates a remarkable 25 years or more of commitment to our industry. The individuals we gather to celebrate tonight have not only met, but they have exceeded the demand on the television industry. Tonight's honorees, they stand as an example of the highest standards of integrity and honor, both within their personal lives and in every facet of their professional career. Our first honoree tonight is an individual whose humble beginnings as a part-time photographer led to a remarkable milestone, the longest-serving video journalist in Eau Claire, Wisconsin history. Steve Betchkal spent most of his career at WEAU-TV and WQAW, achieving a collection of regional Emmy Awards for his self-authorized stories. Now, in his current semi-retired phase, Steve co-produces Storytime with Steve and Micah. It's a platform for his passion with the outdoors.
It's fall, and the 2016-2017 school year is just begun. Our kids are busy learning, while we adults are working hard to pay the bills.
I guess tax paying is an educational process too.
Take the Eau Claire School District, for example. You may have heard by now that we're having a referendum in November. A vote on whether or not homeowners will pay more for educating our children.
Steve is a great teacher, put simply. I was in broadcasting for several years before I met Steve, and he opened my eyes to a new way of thinking about journalism and videography, and he did so in a very kind, constructive manner. And that type of modeling behavior is something that I took with me to my next career and hope to impart that on the colleagues that I now work with. And I will be forever grateful for that from Steve. Congratulations, Steve.
Here's an example of a 6th grade math content standard. To represent and analyze quantitative relationships between dependent and independent variables. X equals a brainful.
This is one of the most pristine islands in Galapagos because the majority of the plants and the animals are endemic. Take a look to this little Jurassic Park. Come a little bit closer, I don't bite.
Steve Betchkal was one of my first mentors when I started my journalism career, and I appreciate the things he taught me every single day. Storytelling is an art form for Steve. He is driven to tell the best story using the best sound, the best video, the best writing every single day. I like to refer to him as a purist. Steve challenges himself and those around him to make their next story better than the one before it. Congratulations, Steve, on this huge honor. Thank you for setting the storytelling bar so high.
The first commercial hula hoop was created in 1958. Since then, the spastic plastic hasn't stopped revolving or evolving.
Sass is not afraid to show his affection, but the kids are.
Wondering you can scoop them up. It's all right. It's not going to hurt.
Friendship embraces many forms. When Sass gets all lovey-dovey, you feel it down to your nerve endings.
What impresses me the most about you, Steve, It's not your ability to see the heart of a story and find a poetic and efficient way to tell that story. And it's not your attention to detail and your craftsmanship.
You gotta hurry up and lick it before it melts. You gotta eat it before it melts. Here, let me push this up. Push this up. There you go.
What impresses me the most is how, after over 30 years of making videos, you still get excited over a great shot or a great nap.
It's too cold.
Congratulations on this honor, Steve. I hope you don't retire just because you're in the Silver Circle. I think we got a few more videos left to make, buddy.
Sorry. Yeah, as a superhero team, we obviously battle villains.
But no children were harmed in the taping of this backyard production.
No, no one has gotten hurt.
Everyone is just doing their part to save the world and earn a career in acting.
Probably just a hobby, not like a career.
Well, what's your career going to be then?
Something to do with horses, or lawyer, or something else.
Now, regrettably, Steve could not join us in the flesh tonight. He's not out in the wild looking for bears or for deer. He's actually in New York City at the Opera tonight, so congratulations to him. However, he did extend his presence to us through this video, sharing a few heartfelt words with his very many esteemed colleagues.
Hi, everybody. Wonderful occasion. Great to be here. First thing I need to say is thank you. Thank you to the Board of Governors. Thank you to my peers and colleagues. Thank you to everybody involved. This is very flattering and very humbling. I am appreciative and grateful. My wife, Julie, teases me because she says that journalists like their trophies. She's a teacher, and she says teachers don't get statuettes. But I know for a fact that there's not a soul here at this occasion tonight that wouldn't love to go home with a statuette. And I know that everybody would be thrilled to be inducted into this Ring of Honor. I think it's fantastic. Again, thank you very much. I'd love to be here with you tonight. That's not possible because I'm physically in New York City, and that's because I'm at the Opera. I am a big opera fan, and one of my life bucket lists is to attend the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. And so in February, I saw that there was an opera called Nabucco, and it's one of my favorites. And I got tickets. And so I did not know the gala was on October 14th and got my tickets. And here's the funny part of the story, right? My grandmother was 100% Sicilian, and so I am Italian. And that means that I cry at operas. I weep openly at operas, right? And again, Julie teases me about this. She's Irish, she has no clue. And if you're not Italian, you don't know anything about this, right? But Giuseppe Verdi, when he wrote this opera, Nabucco, he also wrote this aria called Va Pensiero. And Va Pensiero is the opera that 20,000 Italians sang as they followed his funeral hearse down the street. And so when the opera is going on, I guarantee you my face will be soaked in tears. I like to think that I actually possess some records in journalism. 11,000 stories, I estimate I've done 11,000 stories over my career. That's not a record. I know that people have done more than that. Although 11,000 is 1,000 more than Boyd's 10,000, so that's something. One of the records I think I do possess is most stories shot by a video journalist in a single day. It's 9. It was in 1988, it was a Saturday, and I did 3 packages, 3 VOSATs, and 3 VOs, all with different reporters that day in a 9-hour shift. Anybody out there beat that? Another record that I think I possess is shared by many of you. I have actually never worn a suit and tie to work a single day in my career, in my 35 years. And there's a reason why I'm doing it today. I am dressed this way because this is the occasion. It's a very, very beautiful gala, and I want to dress like everybody else and fit in. But also, I want you to remember me this way, and there's a reason for that. I truly believe that I'm the only journalist in the history of the Upper Midwest Emmys to do a story without wearing clothes. And that bears some explanation. Right? In 2002, I was working for an outdoor adventure program called Northland Adventure. And I discovered this very unique story. There's a campground south of Eau Claire in Black River Falls, Jackson County, that allows nude camping. And so I went to my co-worker and I said, I'd like to do this story. Now, of course, the owner of the campground was very sensitive about this, and he had some conditions. One was that I come down and meet him before we did the story, and he had the conditions that were following. He said, you're gonna come back, I'm gonna warn anybody who doesn't want to be on camera, right? It's very sensitive, so they can get out of here if they want to. And you must present us in a positive light. I don't want you to make this a negative story about people camping nude. And I thought that's very reasonable. So I came back the next week. I pull up in my car, and I'm the only one there, and he meets me in the parking lot without any clothes on. I was the only one there, and last time he had met me, he did have clothes on, and so there's this moment of shock, right? But I'm getting my gear out of the back of the car, and I'm thinking, I know. And I asked him, would you be more comfortable if I wasn't wearing clothes? And he said, yes. Oh my gosh, we would all be more comfortable if you're not wearing clothes. And so I had this critical decision to make. And I thought, you know, I'm curious as hell about what that'd be like to shoot a story with no clothes on. But there was this conjunction too of professional empathy. I thought, you know, I really want to connect with this guy on this level and these people. And so I thought, why not? I did this entire story, and I went to my producer, and this show aired at 10:30 on Sunday nights. And he saw the edited version, and he said, oh my God, I can't air this. And I said, what do you mean you can't air it? And he said, well, this is not appropriate. And so I had done all this work for nothing. But I went to the anchor at the time, the 6 o'clock anchor at WQW, Jerry Gallagher, and I said, man, Jerry, he doesn't want to air it. And he said, I would. So we redid it with another reporter, and we aired it at 6 o'clock, supper time. I think to this day, one of my proudest accomplishments as a journalist is that I taped a story of people playing volleyball nude and aired it at prime time and did not expose any body parts that should have been covered by a swimsuit. I want to say this lastly. I'm so proud of what we do as journalists. You know, there's all this buzz about a Second Amendment, right? Second Amendment. But what about that First Amendment? What you do is so important to democracy and freedom. What you do is patriotic. The only thing more patriotic in my opinion, is voting during elections, right? But what we do is essential to freedom. And I want to say thank you for doing that. I want to say thank you for your service. And I want to say, job well done. Keep up the good work. Good luck tonight, and thank you again, Board of Governors and peers, for this wonderful honor.
Maybe that's why Jerry Gallagher's no longer at WQOW. I don't know, just throwing that out. Tonight's Circle inductees exemplify a remarkable dedication to serving our industry, our chapter, our communities, and those embarking on their journey in this very tough profession. Our next Silver Circle honoree started at the bottom, actually the janitor bottom. Dave Anderson plunged into television as a janitor at a Duluth TV station in 1986. He spent the next few years working his way up from trash cans to engineering to weather graphics. This ignited his passion for meteorology. Dave is now the longest-serving meteorologist in Minnesota's Northland.
Current temperatures in Minnesota.
Like many who go into television, Dave Anderson's fascination with the industry started at a young age.
And as a kid, you know, my family was a news-watching family. We loved TV. I was a small child in the 60s.
But unlike many who go into television, his first newsroom job had nothing to do with the news.
When I first met Dave, Dave was the janitor.
KDLH TV, Duluth. During his junior year at UMD, Dave decided a job as KDLH Channel 3's janitor was the perfect way to get a foot in the door and see if news was right for him. It was. Dave kept the janitor job while simultaneously joining Channel 6's floor crew part-time. Before long, he was a full-time member of the news team and a part-time musician.
I mean, he was a character from the beginning. And he was playing in his band, the Pirates. He was just out of school and very enthusiastic.
While the band never hit it big, then KBJR news director David Gent saw Dave's potential in another line of work.
He came to me and said, I would like to be the weatherman.
Congratulations to you. Last week.
So back to school Dave Anderson went, earning his meteorology degree and the respect of his peers.
It's 73 degrees in Ironwood as well.
It showed me at that time that he was serious about meteorology.
Been working that morning show the last
From the early 90s on, Super Dave became a fixture of weekend news shows, stamping each forecast with his unique delivery.
Earlier this evening, we got a couple of thunder boomers out of it as well.
It's just that down-home feel that you get, like you're watching your dad or your brother, or maybe for some even your grandfather on TV.
But really not too bad.
And on days he wasn't doing weather, Dave began using that hometown kid charm as a reporter.
Why are we so cold right now? Well, for the answer to that question,
For 3 decades, Dave's told stories of the past
there's history waiting to be known.
and kept us warm with his sense of humor.
Even for this Ely native, it's downright cold out here.
All while keeping up with his longtime hobbies.
Decent rains coming.
He's still the same Super Dave Anderson.
We could go towards the mid-70s.
A TV personality set to get the recognition he's earned through hard work, persistence, and staying true to himself.
Do not give up the first time a manager or a boss tells you, you're no good. You don't do that very well. Show them. Keep practicing and do it better. It worked for me. Sunny and warmer come Monday, Paul.
Very good, Dave. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dave Anderson.
Hey, is this thing on? Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. You know, when the station sent me to Prague about 10 years ago, I stood out there in the street by the Vltava River and pointed at all the people on the street and went, check 1, 2. They didn't like that very much. But you know, when you're from the northern part of Minnesota, Ely, as you heard, well, you get just a little bit loopy. It's those 7 months of snow on the ground that'll do it to a guy. And so on that note, I hope you can understand my accent. It's Iron Ranger mixed with Canadian, you know, since we're only 3 miles from the border or so. So oofta, everybody, huh? Yeah, it's a pretty good show going on here tonight. How's that walleye going down? I hear that's the most popular thing here tonight. JJ was telling me most folks ordered the walleye. And so on that note, he told me to let you know next year they're going to replace it with lutefisk, so then the demand for fish won't be quite as stiff. Well, it's an honor to be here tonight receiving this honor and to see you folks again. Frankly, the last time I was at the big show here was 2006. And so on that note, to those about to lose to Boyd Hubert tonight, I salute you. Because that's exactly what happened to me back in 2006. But also that year, my mentor, news director, reporter from Duluth at the time, Barbara Riles, received her Silver Circle. And I was honored to be here and do a feature story on her as she got that honor. And 15 or so years later, gee, I finally get one. I'm very humbled by that. Very humbled, and I'll tell you why here in just a little bit. And of course, since you're all broadcasting professionals, if you're hopefully watching your watches, and I'm getting to the limit of my time, everybody give me a big rap, okay? Because otherwise, as a weather person who doubles as an adjunct meteorology instructor at a couple of colleges, I can fill this room for 45 minutes. As I tell my students, bad analogies, dad jokes, and crazy comparisons. 2006, yeah, I was nominated for a feature story, beaten by Boyd, of course. The other time I had an Emmy nomination, or at least I could claim I had some hand in an Emmy, in 2004, our station got the Best Morning Newscast. Sven Sundgaard was supposed to be the meteorologist for that morning newscast, but he likes to give himself lots of vacation. He was off that day. So I was filling in, so I like to think I was part of that team. But of course, when it was time for the team to come down here and get the award, was it me or Sven who got at the table? It was Sven. but that's the way it rolls once in a while. So again, a thrill to be here. I do have to give out a couple of thanks, and maybe some of these names will jar a few memories because, of course, people move from market to market. And on that note, a funny story on the way down here today, I did jot down a few notes of the speech I wanted to give, and then when I got here to the Twin Cities, I looked at my piece of paper and noticed it's the phone number for a news contact, and I didn't have my notes at all, but I did jot down a couple of notes just so I can make sure I get most of the names here right. So in my long career, which has been a ton of fun, I got to thank KBJR, KDLH, and Duluth General Managers Bob Rich, Bob Kaltoff, and Bob Wilmers. As you can see, for the first 50 years of KBJR, you had to have the name Bob to be in charge. Then that started to change around 2005 when Dave Jench took over, and now our general manager is Todd Wentworth. Those guys gave me the chance to grow and learn rather than kicking me out the door, especially when I forgot to dump their garbages back in the 80s and those early days. Our news directors at the station had a big influence on me over the years. Dave Jench, Derek Hines, Barbara J. Riles, who's a fellow Silver Circle recipient, Briggs LaSavage, and our new man, Matt McConico. Mentors over the years for both news and weather included Dave Jench, Barbara Riles, a weathercaster named Carol Hall, a meteorologist named George Kessler, who was a big deal back in his day, but he's gone on to other things, Michelle Lee, another Silver Circle recipient, and of course this organization's big deal, big wig, J.J. Murray. And of course, at my table tonight, I've got my colleagues, Matt McConico, Kendall Jarbo, who's up for a couple of awards, her husband, Alex Laidala, up for a couple of awards, and Alexis Bass, our sports anchor, up for an award. But of course, I want to give the biggest thanks here now to my wife, Lori, who's at our table. Lori Anderson, she's been with me even before I got this job. In fact, you know, I got that janitor job at KDLH TV, and then I graduated from UMD, and I was all excited. Oh, I'm going to apply to go move up to the floor crew. And the Channel 3 people kind of yawned and didn't do a thing. So Lori got me the application to KBJR, where they hired me within days. And then so for several years, of course, I first worked the early evening doing the news at KBJR and then dumping the trash at Channel 3. And the Channel 3 people were never very happy when I wore my KBJR jacket, you know. Back in the 80s, wasn't it a big deal to have one of those satin jackets with the rug patch on the back? Ooh, you felt like you were in a motorcycle club or something. KBJR, screaming peacocks, baby. So, Lori, thank you for putting up with this career all these years. You know, much to her chagrin, she's been in the cover video for a lot of my stories. If you watch some of my pieces, say on YouTube, if you see an attractive, gorgeous brunette in the background, that's probably Lori. And she's been doing it since she was like 21 years old until now, 22 years old. And the same goes for my kids, who are not as big a ham as I am. My son's first appearance in one of my news packages was when he was 1 month old. He was born in September. We needed some video of trick-or-treating for a Halloween package. Well, there he was with the mask stuck on his 1 month old face, and trick-or-treaters were coming up and taking candy out of his little pouch. I'm sure he would have rather have kept that candy himself. But now, before I give up the floor here, what I really want to do is be serious. If you look in your booklets and see the memoriam section, you will see that a Silver Circle recipient from Duluth passed away last year. His name was Joe Mann. He got this award, the Silver Circle, in the year 2020. Perhaps much to my chagrin. I'm a big TV star. I'm an anchor. How can a part-time cameraman get it before me? Maybe those thoughts did run through my head. I'll tell you about Joseph E. Mann. He was a very interesting fellow from the Iron Range of Minnesota. And he wanted to be a broadcaster. In the early 90s, when he was in high school, he would frankly scare KBJR by sending us pictures of his news shrine he had in his bedroom with pictures of our anchors and candles, and it looked a little bit different, all right. And then he went to Duluth, and he went to Lake Superior College, and he signed up for the broadcasting program there and studied real hard and worked real hard and would watch our news at 5 o'clock, find out where our live shots were, and then go stand around staring lovingly at the anchors. A little bit scary. Frankly, we didn't hire Joe, but other stations in the market did, where he got to prove himself. As JJ might have mentioned once or twice to some of us, Joe Mann did not go on to be a big anchor person or a news director or anything like that. He was the backbone of our industry, though. To get a Silver Circle, you don't need to be a hoity-toity anchor or a bigwig general manager driving a Porsche, or some kind of meteorologist that thinks you're the king of the sky, things like that. The backbone of our industry is those guys who work behind the scenes, keep the studio set up, keep the mics hot, get the cameras focused, and get us on the air. So last year when Joe Mann, at the age of 49, passed away from a stroke, it was a shock to everybody in the Duluth region, because this kid, and I'm so old I consider him a kid even though he was 49, this kid got involved with the community. What are the rules to get a Silver Circle? You can't just be a broadcaster, you've got to give back to your community. When Mann wasn't working at the PBS station in Duluth or Fox 21 or being a mascot for a radio station, he was on every board in town, volunteering for every historic society and museum in the area. And when news of Joe passing away from a stroke last year broke, those organizations cried, and they shed a tear, and me, the so-called important reporter, did a tribute package to him. It's very humbling. Very humbling indeed. So to all those Joe Manns out there, I salute them as well. Now, my comments are starting to wrap up. Time to go for the grand denouement, the grand climax here, my friends. All right, so I'm from that little town up north of Ely. I've got a Silver Circle now. Oh boy, we've got to stay humble. Do you think I'm the biggest wig in Ely now because of this? Heck no. Do you think maybe it's Will Steger and Paul Shirky, the Arctic Explorers? Probably not. Is it Jim Klobuchar, the famous writer from here in the Twin Cities, whose daughter now calls the family name Klobuchar? No, probably not. Lynn Rogers, the Bear Man. Jim Brandenburg, perhaps, the photographer for National Geographic. None of us, none of them. It's probably still and always will be my high school classmate, Ragnar, the Vikings mascot, who used to hang me over the third floor balcony of Ely Memorial High School by my feet and shake me up like this, trying to shake all the change out of my pockets down to the freshmen below. He really knows how to grab the skull by the horns. And so on that note, thanks for listening to me tonight. Thank you, every single member of the chapter here. And best wishes to every single one of you in the categories you're entered in. And to my friendly competitors tonight from WDIO, you're wonderful folks. I love you, but I hope you don't win too much. Thanks again.
I think many of us here can agree about Boyd Hooper, no doubt about that. So tonight we're just not applauding the accomplishments of those who have clocked in decades in this industry. We're also here to lend a hand to those who are kind of dipping their toes into the whirlpool of lights and cameras. One of our recent scholarship recipients got to do something that's pretty amazing this month.
Hi, I'm Paige, one of the TDs, technical directors here at the Vikings, and today is a little different.
Paige Yeager received our first Bob Franzen Leadership Scholarship in 2020. Not only did she sing this national anthem at the Vikings preseason football game, but then she had to run off the field through the tunnels of US Bank Stadium to her actual job. Paige directs the in-stadium video experience for the Vikings. Her coworkers even gave her a standing ovation when she reached her director's set. There she goes. As you see, the Upper Midwest Emmy Foundation isn't just about trophies and awards. It's about nurturing the next generation of media marvels. This year, the foundation proudly supported 3 remarkable students in our region. They wanted to extend their heartfelt gratitude for your contributions to the media education.
Hi, I'm Paige, one of the TDs.
Now, next year, the foundation will present its 100th student scholarship. And we're not stopping at scholarships. We're championing educators with classroom funding and honoring video tech prodigies with AV All-Star honors. We owe the Foundation's incredible journey to all of you folks out there. Your energetic participation in the silent auction, the one out there, is like adding fuel to our scholarship initiative. So let your bids fly high and frequently. The silent auction is open until 9:30 tonight. And if you're feeling charitable, well, you can directly contribute to the cause. Just whip out your phone and text Midwest Emmys to 56651. That's 56651. Follow the prompts to make the donation that will make a difference. Or if you're more of a scanner, give that QR code on the screen or the card at your table a shot as well. Your dedication to our Foundation's mission is sincerely appreciated. Now our next Silver Circle inductee is a Boston native whose journey from the East Coast to South Dakota has been nothing short of extraordinary. With roots in being WTVR's first weekend sports anchor during his senior year at the University of Richmond, Mark Ovenden's gift of gab paved the way for an illustrious broadcasting career. From covering state basketball tournaments to hosting the Calling All Sports radio show, Mark's 45-year legacy in South Dakota has made him an iconic figure in sports reporting and a committed advocate for philanthropic causes. Mark Ovenden.
It's been a busy week so far, and it's just an omen of things to come.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota isn't necessarily known as a sports market for television. Mark Ovenden made it one.
With Mark, he is the definition of institutional knowledge. He has been here for so long.
Hailing from the East Coast, Marco moved to this budding Midwest town in 1978 and hit the ground running.
The fact that he has committed so much to a town that he literally did not know existed when he moved here is really remarkable.
To Mark, each game, each player, each coach, each division, no matter how big or small, is equally important.
Mark never does anything halfway. There is no halfway. You are all in or you are all out.
He's just one of those guys that just, regardless of what he's talking about, it's the most important thing. That story is the most important thing going out to that viewer at that point.
Because this is a community that Marco has embraced.
Mark has donated untold hours to so many groups over the course of the years. He has really, poured his heart and soul into the community in so many different ways.
And this community has embraced him back.
Nobody mistakes Mark for somebody else. It is always, oh, that's Mark Ovenden.
A Midwest match made in heaven.
He definitely puts a very personal touch on everything he talks about. I mean, if he knows you, he's going to tell everybody, he's my good friend.
It is completely conversational. It is completely comfortable for him and for the viewer. Plainly and simply, there is a huge comfort level that Mark has always brought to the screen.
And when you've invested your entire heart and career into a place like Sioux Falls, the thought of leaving seems out of the question.
I don't know if he's told you the story about turning down the job at ESPN because he didn't think that would amount to anything. Good call. Anyway.
Well, it certainly was a good call for Sioux Falls, South Dakota, no doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Ovenden.
Wow. Nice job on that video, you guys. I hadn't seen it. I'm kind of choked up. Not very often am I speechless, and Dave said he forgot his notes, and as a result, you know, he wanted to limit the amount of time he had. Well, I once did a 45-minute eulogy, so I've got notes to keep me on track. What a wonderful honor this is. Before we go any further, let's give a huge round of applause to, you might know him as John Murray. To me, he's JJ. What a stud, what a great party this is. Give him a big round of applause. And thanks to Larry, too. Appreciate that introduction. Last night, it's funny, from one night to the next, last night I was shooting 2 high school football games in the rain, in the wind, and the cold. I'm 68, and I must have said this out loud as I was on the sideline. I was under some coverage at the Sioux Falls Christian game, and I went, why am I still doing this? And this guy was standing next to me, and he goes, because you love your job. I said, touche, you're right, I do. It's kind of amazing how the whole thing got started. I'll make this brief. It's funny how one person can affect your entire career or your life or whatever. When I was a junior in college, you saw the one picture of me when I had hair. I went down to the CBS affiliate in Richmond, Virginia, and just applied for a job as what we now refer to as a PA, a production assistant. I literally cleaned slides to get thumbprints off of them, so when they went on as a QF, which they weren't even called QFs back in the day, that they look good and did have a big thumbprint on them. I called all the police departments to get news stories, typed in graphics for the news department, just to see what it was like. My goal in life was to be the next Kurt Gowdy. He was my next door neighbor when I was born way back in 1955 in Wellesley, Massachusetts. I wanted to be the Red Sox play-by-play guy. But I just thought I'd see what TV was all about. And after a year, they decided to add a weekend sportscast. Don Dale, who was my news director at the time, said, why don't you try out for this? And I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified. I was scared stiff. I was awful. I was surprised that Hunty didn't include that in the video here because it was terrible. But they hired me. This news director took a chance on somebody with no experience, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I've always tried to keep that in mind when I hire people. I hire them on potential, not credential. And it's worked out pretty well. I've had a ton of people that have worked for me in the sports department over the years that have gone on to huge things. I was at the Texas A&M Alabama game last Saturday with my son, just for fun, and Nicole Griffith, who'd worked for me 3 or 4 years ago at KDLT, was anchoring the pregame show for the Aggies. How cool for me to see that somebody that I basically got into the business was on such a big stage. It was really neat. And another kid from Mitchell, South Dakota, Jacob Sersasimo, he just got a job in St. Louis. It's pretty wonderful to see all the people that have gone on to do great things in the business. So like I said, I've always tried to keep that in mind. And it's people like Nicole and people like Jacob. It's people like everybody at our table over here. When I walked in here tonight, I didn't know how many people I would know. I've run into so many people I've worked with over the years, and it's just made tonight extra special. Now, this is a pretty neat deal. My mom, who turned 100 a couple of weeks ago, by the way, she asked me, what is this thing you're going to tonight? I said, I don't know. It's just they're recognizing me for being old and being in this business for a long time. And then I realized that was kind of a silly thing to say to my mom, who just turned 100, but she said, well, I'm proud of you. I said, well, I'm proud of you too. I've gotten to cover a lot of amazing events over the years. The Super Bowl, when the Patriots played up here in Minneapolis, and I got to interview Tom Brady, and he called me by name. I thought that was kind of cool. I used to sell popcorn and peanuts at the Patriots games when I was a little kid. So I'm a big-time Boston fan, have become very much of a secondary Minnesota fan, but even Gardy knew when I'd come to Twins Red Sox games to cover it, I was there to cheer for the Red Sox. And so it's been kind of a neat thing to be able to cover sports. And yes, as Mike Henriksen said, I turned down ESPN when they first started because I didn't think they'd amount to anything. That was a little bit off, but I'm thrilled that I've been in Sioux Falls for as long as I have. Covering the Ryder Cup as a golfer and sneaking inside the ropes and getting selfies with the American team was certainly a highlight. My sons all say I'm addicted to taking selfies on the golf course. Little did they know I'd do it during the Ryder Cup. That was pretty neat. The NCAA tournaments have got a chance to travel all over the country with Max Jensen and Adam Huntemer and covering major events. I mean, it's been so cool to see the sports scene grow in the Sioux Falls area. There hasn't been a moment in the last 40 years that I've considered going anywhere else. A lot of crazy stuff has happened. The one thing that sticks in my mind in terms of live TV, because we all know, all of us know, anything can happen in live TV. I was doing the sports one night at KDLT in front of what was called my sports set was a locker with lockers, and there was a curtain behind the locker that was used to separate the studio into different things that they needed it. Anyway, this curtain's above me. One of the lights in the studio blew. We've all had that happen, right? Sparks from the light caught the curtain on fire above my head while I was doing the sportscast. Luckily, Jared Sebesta, who's gone on to do weather here in this market, who's 6'9", and he was our weather guy at the time, grabbed a broom and went over and was jumping up and putting out the fire above my head while I was doing the sportscast. I had a full head of hair before that night. But most of all, it's the platform that this kind of a job gives us that's been so rewarding. That's been the coolest part of the job, is to be able to help other people. About 40 years ago, when the Make-A-Wish Foundation was just starting down in Phoenix, my dental assistant, the gal that brushed my teeth, she called me one day, she goes, "You know, I saw something on Good Morning America this morning about the Make-A-Wish Foundation. How would you like to help me start it up here?" Now, this was 40 years ago. There was no internet, there were no cell phones. We did things with a rotary dial phone, and that was the only way you got a hold of people. We started up the Make-A-Wish Foundation not only in South Dakota, but in about 15 surrounding states. And it was pretty incredible to see where that has gone. Got to do the Jerry Lewis Telethon for years. That was a blast. Just a lot of things like that. I even get to play golf every year. One day, I play 100 holes of golf in one day for the Junior Achievement in South Dakota, and I raise money for them, and my gosh, I love golf. It's the best day of the year for me. So that's what's been cool, is to get the opportunity to help so many other people, and also help people in our business move on to bigger and better things, much as it's so difficult to lose them when they leave. It's kind of like being a parent. You get your kids ready to go out into the real world. So that's been very rewarding. I've had people tell me all the time, "You have a really cool job. I wish I had your job." And you know, I think they're right. I do. I have the coolest job ever. I've been doing it for 48 years. Now, you said the silver circle is for 25, right? Yeah. Okay. In 2 more years, I'm going to use some spray paint and make it gold. It's been awesome. Great to see so many friends out there tonight. Let's just have a wonderful night. Congrats to all the people that will win awards later on. I just want you to know how special this is for me to share this with all of you. So 48 years and counting. Thank you very much. Love you guys.
'68 is just a kid. Anyway, the Upper Midwest Emmy chapter lost someone very special this summer. Harold Crump, who worked for many years with Hubbard Broadcasting, passed away at the age of 91. Harold was instrumental in starting the regional chapter and served as a trustee to the National Emmy Organization for more than a decade. His remarkable journey in broadcasting spanned an impressive half-century. Now, he ascended the industry ranks by revolutionizing Jerry Lewis's telethon, the Labor Day telethon for muscular dystrophy, and launching many careers, including that of Oprah Winfrey.
Well, I was in Nashville, Tennessee as the station manager at the CBS affiliate in 1973. And Oprah was going to Tennessee State University, and she came to us as a news intern. And she wanted to be a writer. She was skinny as a rail, cute as she could be, but she had this great personality. So one day I said to her, have you ever thought about going in front of a camera? No, she didn't want to do that. And I guess I sort of took that as a challenge for no good reason. And so I bugged her for several months. Finally, I said to her one day, a guy has come down here from New York who checked in with me, who is a television coach. And if you would go to him for 6 weeks, twice a week, I'll pay for it. And at the end of this time, if you still don't want to do it, or if I don't like the audition tape you'll be cutting, then that'll be the end of it. So 6 weeks later, she comes into my office and she's grinning from ear to ear and holding this tape, and I'm thinking, oh darn, if I don't like this tape, I'm going to break her heart. But of course, I did like it. So I decided that I would put her on, since she'd never done any work on camera, try to break her in as a local reporter, but also go ahead right now and put her on the weekend newscast, Saturday and Sunday, early and late, as the co-news anchor.
Now, beyond his accolades, the Peabody Award, Emmys, and his induction in the Silver and Gold Circles of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Harold's name is etched among industry titans on Nashville's iconic BMI building as well. Even in retirement, he remained a steadfast representative on several boards, including the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the Tennessee Association and Broadcast Music Incorporation. Memorializing him is this video. Can't believe that Carlin and Torpy retired before me, but good for them. So, again, thank you so much for your applause for these fine people. Our final circle honoree tonight got her passion for photography ignited in grade school when a simple camera sparked a flame that would burn brightly for decades. Donna Smith started at KCCI TV in Des Moines in 1983. Her dedication with the camera earned her the role of chief photographer in 1987. The first for a woman in Iowa broadcast history. Donna tackled the challenging responsibilities of managing a team, news cars, equipment, and stood as a steadfast advocate, ensuring KCCI's photojournalists had the best tools to excel in their craft.
You don't stay somewhere 38 years unless it's a great place to work, and it is, and it always has been.
KCCI Chief Photographer Donna Smith has just about seen it all, from meeting every president.
It's always interesting and always fascinating, and a privilege to be able to cover the people who will someday lead this country.
To traveling to Australia for a month to cover the 2000 Olympics.
That was one of the hardest things I've ever done professionally, but one of the most rewarding.
Donna started her job at KCCI back in the 1980s.
So it would sit on your shoulder.
When the cameras were bigger and the number of female photographers was smaller.
It always pushed me to try to do my very best, because I knew people were watching and I knew people were waiting for me to fail so they could say, well, see, she can't do it. Women can't do this job. And they can, and they do.
She's the third female chief photographer at KCCI, which is a great legacy. And it's going to be very hard to fill her shoes.
I want to work as hard as Donna does.
KCCI Assistant News Director Dana Cardenas worked with Donna from day one.
Everyone has to go above and beyond what their particular jobs are for the team to be successful. And I don't think anyone understood that more than Donna. I mean, she was a photographer. She took care of all the equipment, but she also took care of all the reporters. Tie straight.
At Channel 8, the chief photographer is the person who, as a former boss told me, makes the trains run on time.
The pride in her staff's News Photography Awards is overwhelming.
We work so hard, and we've been lucky enough that effort has been noticed, and we've been awarded 8 National Press Photographer Awards. For Small Market Station of the Year, that's like winning an Emmy. So, very proud.
So Donna, after all these years, welcome to radio. Come on now. Donna Smith, everybody, at KCCI in Des Moines.
Why does it seem appropriate that the video disappears when the photographer gets the award? I just want to say very quickly, thank you so much. I'm deeply honored and humbled. And I started at a time when women were not doing this and they were not chief photographers. But I was stubborn and I wouldn't let anybody tell me no. And I worked at the best station, KCCI in Moines. And they supported me, and I was literally the 3rd female chief photographer. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Donna. Let's, we're kind of wrapping up here, but let's just give one last big round of applause to all of the people that we've had up here on stage and those who entered the Silver Circle tonight. Now we can catch our breath a little. Remember, the silent auction still has about another 75 minutes or so left to run. Get out there, make a bid. Here's a juicy tidbit. Every crazy bid you make directly fuels those scholarships for the bright high school and college media minds in our region and the people who will be doing our job in the future. You can do some good while texting. Just tap away Midwest Emmys to 56651. Then follow the prompts and sprinkle some donation magic in there. Why not fancy a bit of scanning as well? The QR code on your table card is itching for some attention. But wait, before we scatter, let's keep the social media game strong. Keep tagging Midwest Emmys in your post. Let's see if we can set the trend tonight. So go ahead, take a breather, stretch those legs, do the auction shimmy, top off that drink. Believe me, I'm going to. We're here Coming back again about 8 o'clock, we'll serve up a grand feast of regional Emmy Awards. Thank you for letting me host the Circle Honors tonight. Enjoy the rest of the show, everybody.